Hello and welcome back to playerpredict.com. Today we're joined by, well, firstly, I'll rephrase it. The phrase, the clash of the ash, is one of the most well-known sporting terms. And today I have the person who wants to ruin all that. I'm only joking with you. You've probably heard the last while, Sean Torpey from his absolutely wonderful new idea. He revitalised, I suppose, the hurling industry with his product launch, BAMBÚ hurl, but also they have a very successful business at the back of that as well. So I'm delighted to grab Sean. He's a very busy man. You've been left, right, and centre. I've seen your brand, your face has been everywhere. So firstly, thank you very much for joining us.
No problem, Jonathan. No problem. Yeah, delighted to be here and just happy to take these opportunities in their eyes.
Well, firstly, before we mention the war of ash versus bamboo, etc., I'd like to probably let to know a bit more, because, as I said, you have a very successful family business there as well. Was set up by your father, 81, I believe, wasn't it, as well? So it's a long-standing industry.
Yeah, so my granduncle started the tradition of hurley making in the family back in the 1930s, and then my father would have seen him when he was growing up, and he would have got advice from him on how to make hurleys at that time when Dad was growing up. And I suppose that led Dad was always interested in hurleys when he was a younger man, and then he led him to. We were farmers here basically majority of the time until about 1981, and still looking out at rainy days, and decided, look, I'm going to start something else as well, and started making hurleys as a business. And from then on, we've been doing great. Took a big step forward when Clare, the great team in the Clare in '95, made that breakthrough. A lot of them players used our hurleys at the time, and from then on again. So we just kept rolling over the years, and we've always tried to over that time to make sure that the product matches the name that we put on our hurleys, because I think that's very important. It's all right to make a few hurleys, but how do you make consistently thousands of hurleys all at a time? And that's been a big driver for my father over the years, and how to make a consistent product out of essentially what is a varied material like ash, you know what I mean? And that's been the I suppose a major challenge over the years, and it's been great. Don't get me wrong, we've had a great journey through all the years, and hopefully we'll continue to have a great journey. We're not stopping making ash hurleys, that's not what the last 2 days have been about. We're just I suppose saying to people, look, there is something else there. If you want to try it and you like it, great. If you don't, great too. We can provide you with a great ash hurley,
I have to confess, I'm from Big Ball land. I'm from North Galway, the traditional home of Galway football, etc., etc. So the only hurls we would have seen if someone's trying to rob a place or something like that. So I've always been fascinated by the skill. I think I heard you describe your father as a master craftsman. It always fascinates me, the level of degree, and then from speaking to players and coaches or whatnot, everybody has their own particular kind of niche or their own exact way they want it. It really is a fine art as well. That must be something you must be so proud as well. From you talked about passed down the family tree. It's something you've probably studied in detail as well, I'd imagine.
Yeah, like I suppose that doesn't happen overnight. And my father's experience probably from making hurleys came from a long time of mentioning of making hurleys as a player, and then decide, okay, I'm actually good enough at this now, I can go and do something for other people, so probably there was 20 years of a lead into him even starting the business, if you understand me. And over the years, I'm at this business myself now. God, I'd say 12 and 13 years of age, I was over here. When I was 10, I remember sitting at the table, Brian Lohan, David Fitzgerald, PJ O'Connell at our kitchen tables the night before Munster finals. If that doesn't give you a passion for this industry, nothing can. At that time, Clare hurling was just so all enthralling, and these were heroes sitting at my table, and that really gave me the love for the industry. And then obviously I would have seen the effort my father goes. My father has gone to huge efforts to satisfy players across many years of all levels. It doesn't, sure, we love looking after John Conlon and Tony Kelly, these type of players, great, but I suppose one thing my father always distinguished was he never made much of a difference between any player really, if he could, and yeah, some players, he would advise them as to what hurley they should be using. They might know why he did that, or he would just say, take that one, that's really good for you. And actually, I spoke to somebody there in the last few days, another journalist and former hurler, and he played at quite a high level, and he was saying, he took a hurley from my father, and my father was like, that'll get better now, that'll get better with your game. And he took that hurley away, never used it, gave it away to a guy, and he scored loads of points with it, and he was nearly willing to buy it back from the other player after another 4 or 5 months. So just them little anecdotes, I don't think any other industry has, and we're not the only ones. There's many other great hurley makers around the country that have similar stories, and that's the nature of the industry you're in. And in one way, it can be challenging getting ash, good quality ash from the root of ash trees consistently, and matching that to a player's taste can be very, very challenging. There's very few product industries, I believe, have that challenge, because an iPhone is an iPhone for everybody, and that's the difference, I think, with our industry. But it's brilliant, because everything else you work on is literally new all the time.
I sense straight away, even from your facial expressions, an enormous pride in the product. It's not just a sporting instrument, say, or piece of sporting equipment. There's a lot of more, I suppose, gross, soul, and everything else that goes into it. It's fascinating to see that behind the scenes kind of. It's not just like mass production where you've set your saw to cut 20 meters or whatever the distance is in a certain weight, and bang, bang, bang. There's a lot more personalization and love really gone into each one, isn't there?
Yeah, look, I suppose we do make a lot of hurleys. There's no getting away from that. We are a business at the end of the day. But it's what gets me out of bed in the morning anyway is, look, there's a natural material like ash. How do I get 90% or 95% consistency across that material when every one of them is different? So many players will use our hurleys, and okay, they like different weights themselves and whatever, but generally the finish of every one of our hurleys will be pretty close, bar the balance all of the time, in terms of shape, in terms of handle size, even down to the branding and the stamping and just the look of the hurley. Very important for a player. If a player isn't comfortable going across the white line with that hurley, then that's going to be a challenge for them. And also, we understand that, like, if you break one hurley, the next one in has to be the same. It goes without saying. It just has to be the same, especially now with intercounty players, where I suppose the exposure to media is brilliant for intercounty players, but comes pressure, and pressure is a big thing now for a lot of players in the last number of years. And we've always tried to work with players to take that pressure off of them, so that they can just simply go out, do the skills that they were born to do. We're not good enough with a hurling myself. I played good adult senior hurling myself, but never made an intercounty jersey. But we really feel like when I see Jamie Barron or when I see Sean Finn, I'm not a Limerick man, I'm not a Waterford man, but when I see them doing their magic on a hurling field, I feel like, look, I've contributed some way to that level of skill and to the enjoyment that everybody else gets. And that's, nothing will give you that sense of feeling. I don't think money can buy that, you know what I mean? And that's why I particularly love working at what I'm at, you know what I mean? So, that's it.
I repeat, I can see that from your facial expressions. I can see it's not made up either. It's just glowing off you there. Your own studies then as well. I believe you went to the UK for a while to further your studies. That must have been an adventure. Was it fun explaining to some of the British people what a hurd was? And like, I suppose not too akin to me in North Galway, that it's not for robbing shops or whatever.
Yeah, look, I suppose there would have been an element of that. I would have been practicing puck-outs myself, former goalkeeper, so I would have been practicing puck-outs on the rugby fields, trying to hit tractor tires at the other end of the field and trying to put it over the other rugby post bar and stuff like that. So it was an interesting time. It wasn't a decision I did lightly. I was full-time in the business here, driving the business as much, I think, as I am now. But I wanted to really understand the engineering aspects of what's going on behind hurleys. We understood the craft. We definitely understand the craft. There's no problem with that. But I wanted to understand if a hurley is breaking, why is it breaking? What are the impacts it has to take? What are the forces that are involved? And can we do anything by informing ourselves to help that experience from a player? Because we know if a player buys a hurley, they enjoy it and they enjoy it, and they get some level of longevity out of it, they'll come back. and that's what we've always found, you know. So I chose to go to Loughborough University, and Loughborough University has a sports technology institute. It's renowned for sports product development over the last 20 years. Major brands like Adidas and Nike and Callaway Golf and you name it has been doing research in Loughborough University. And I wanted to, one thing that drew me there as well is I wanted to understand, I wanted to look at something else that wasn't hurling. Because, you know, when you're looking inward all of the time, it kind of can be, you can maybe not see the opportunities that are around you, you know, and I wanted to understand what is happening in other sports equipment that, you know, maybe we can look at in different areas for hurleys, and, you know, maybe even look at other products down the road, you don't know, but we take one step at a time in that regard. But, you know, I suppose it was a really enjoyable time. I never thought I would like study so much, but I for them few years I couldn't not keep my head out of a book, and it led me then to get an opportunity to go and work with Adidas in their global headquarters in Germany, and also with Puma in their. So I was in the innovation team in Adidas, and I was in the Puma motorsport team. Again, a very innovative section of Puma. They are leading the field in Formula One apparel and stuff like that.
They must have been a fascinating experience, and as you said, learning outside your initial scope as well. I mean, it must have been the learning that you must, and the experience that you must have developed from being in those environments must have been hugely satisfying as well.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, it was a great time, and you know, I seen an awful lot of how products are developed, and the thought and the iterations that go in, and, you know, something that is if it's going to be good, it has to be right in terms of numbers, it has to be right in terms of the data, and that gave me great insight into, you know, I suppose I didn't realize then that it would be helping me now. Really, I truly, if I'm honest with you, I didn't, because dieback disease wasn't really an issue even then to be, you know, it wasn't even being talked about, and, you know, probably until these little factors come together that you realize, okay, there's something actually that you can contribute now, and that's what has been the most enjoyable thing. And obviously I've linked in with some of my former colleagues as well to get their input along the way. I haven't just gone and done things blindly myself. We you know, my father has had a massive input into the new BAMBÚ hurley project, and my father actually came to me with the material. He's, you know, Dad is 79 this year, so he's, you know, he's not a spring chicken, but he's very innovative in his mind, always tried new things, patented a number of different designs of hurleys in the 90s. One of the first hurley makers to go abroad and source ash abroad. We went to the Netherlands in '99, where he couldn't speak an iota of Dutch, or, you know, so obstacles never came in his way. And he came to me with the material in 2013 and said, look, we might try and have a look at this. And, you know, it wasn't perfect at the time. We struck a few balls. We found that, okay, actually, we can do something with this. This sounds right and it feels right. We just need to look at this a little bit further now. And that's where we started putting our thought processes into place in terms of iterations of design, looking at the stresses, looking at the forces, looking at the mechanics, and you know, that's where it's led to. So I can't take all the credit either, you know what I mean, around the new hurley. But yeah, it's been what I feel is a little bit of a kind of a circular process since I went back to university.
I can see that there's a lot of kind of stray roads being joined up together. There's a lot of different particles that you wouldn't necessarily put together seem to be joining there between your studies, exposure, and then your father's genius. What was it initially, the I suppose the issues that you and other hurling makers have in sourcing ash that kind of led to the first going abroad? You spoke about going abroad and trying to speak, and I can imagine no more than my father.
Well, that's kind of a difficult question, because the answer to that would really be no.
Okay,
and it's
interesting.
And you know, look, ash probably isn't a massive problem right now. I would see issues in terms of consistency, maybe.
Okay.
Now at the moment, you know, but look, we're not going to wait until the last ash tree is in the forest to start looking at things either. I think that would be crazy. But I suppose the other thing about the project is we really wanted, this project has been a long number of years in the process. One of the more, I suppose, sports innovative. Outside of hurling, this thing is very innovative in terms of sports, right? Because a lot of other sports products are made through, what I would regard as non-friendly materials for the environment. And that would have been an easy option for us to look at and to go with that and say, that's great. Now we can make a similar to a one for all golf club or whatever you want to think about. But it's a combination of the player, the tradition of hurling, and the material that has brought this together. Because if the player in hurling isn't so particular, then we might have to create a hurley that can be adjusted over time. So, like if you buy a golf club, you're not adjusting the golf club a whole lot when you buy it. So and that's the other side of this process. Is players are kind of leading this naturally, and that's the cool thing about it as well. And then from a sustainability point of view, the fact that we're using a natural material was very important to myself and my father. We love being in the forest. Like, I can't describe to you a cup of tea in the forest, and you might as well be in the bog. You know what I mean? It's the same level of satisfaction, and a lot of people know that. But we wanted to create something that was very natural to the sport and very natural to the environment and to the tradition of hurley making, because hurley making is going back huge. We're not the first hurley makers in the world, and the sport of hurling has had hurley makers for thousands of years, so we didn't, even though we have to try and look at something new, and maybe Ash Dieback contributed to that a little bit, and but we were okay for Ash at the time, I mean, that's the long and the short of it. But we just wanted to maybe look at different things, broaden our horizons. We've always tried to be innovative here if we can at all, and just not accept everything the way it always has been. We try and investigate, we try and question if we can, and even like the last 10 years has seen a massive introduction of development around the schlitter. A schlitter nowadays I think is far superior than 10 or 15 years ago, but with that comes a few issues in terms of ash hurleys. So what we've found in the last, we ran a study last year, 1,200 players took part in this survey that we had online last year. We called it the Great Big Hurley Survey. And basically they told us that 81% of their hurleys were breaking along the middle of the boss of the hurley. So from the grain up along the centre. Generally hitting the ball, sometimes clashing, but generally hitting the ball. So this was one of the things with this new product is we feel like, well, I've never seen it breaking, hitting the ball. So even in all of our repeatability tests that we've been doing in Loughborough University, where we've hooked the hurley up to a robot, it has, hit a schlitter 1,000 times, at high forces to understand what level does this break at, and we haven't yet actually broken it at the moment. So
remarkable from such a high percentage to not witnessing one at the moment. That's a big turnaround straight away, isn't it?
Yeah, and now the hurley will break. We're not saying that. It'll break in a handle. If you're an aggressive player and you're tackling in the wrong way, maybe, if I want to put it politely.
Or if you're robbing a shop or something.
Yeah, so like it's going to break in a handle. But we do see that, it isn't very much either in terms of our, it's just maybe different ways of tackling. Like if players hold a hurley, the guy's running at them, they hold the hurley up at them like that. An ash hurley is going to break in half. You know what I mean? That's what's going to happen there a lot of the time, or at least it will eventually. So this hurley is the same, but what we do feel like is that, definitely hitting the ball and splitting along the boss is something that may not occur as often anyway, only time will tell. We've done a savage amount of research and testing and player feedback. We've got inter-county feedback, but like really and truly, you only know the success of something when the masses get it, and Absolutely. It's been used in fields left, right and centre, and players are different types of players, different mentalities. My father would always have an expression around the greatest of players. They didn't break very many hurleys, is what he always said, and that was because he always felt they were playing with their mind more so than with maybe emotion, like we just see it develop, and we're delighted. The orders have been absolutely flying in. I wouldn't have said in my wildest dreams that we would have been selling at what we've done in the last 24 hours. But it's just going to be over time. We'll see how people react, and we're going to work with players because we do feel like this is a good material. And look, if it's something that we have to review the pricing of it. Is a little bit higher than a normal ash hurley. It's almost double the price. But we will review that over time if we feel that, maybe our expectations are too high, or maybe, and on the other case, if we're not seeing it, at the end of the day, we are in business. If we're not seeing the return of players, we have to look at that as well. And these are all different things that we hope to take on board. And we've worked with players so far with this project so closely that we're not going to stop now. And that's the idea behind it. And I suppose that's my philosophy. I've always worked with players, no matter who they are, getting their hurley. I might like a particular hurley a player chooses. For me,
true. Every week, each their own.
If they're happy and that's what they want to use, and the grain is perfect in it, and it's made to a very, very high standard, okay, that's okay by me. So they're just, I suppose, that's just little nuggets of information.
It sounds like a fascinating journey. You've even educated me so much there in the last couple, even that last couple of answers there. It's even things that I wouldn't have thought of, keeping value to the traditions of the game, using a product that's, as you said, you could have gone with other alternatives that mightn't necessarily been as good for the environment or etc. or fit the values really of their. I suppose it is a skillful that you passed on and is being passed down through your family there and various other families throughout Ireland as well.
Yeah, look, I love the fact that I can go down and I can tailor this with hand tools if I wanted to for a player. Now, I wouldn't advise everybody do it because it's taken me 6 years of work with this material. But we're happy for people to come back to us with a product if they want over time and they want it adjusted for them. The psychology of hurling performance means that you might think your hurley is lovely in spring, but sooner or closer club championship is coming. We're getting all a little bit more pressurized. The training sessions are getting a little bit harder and a little bit more intense. Then oftentimes players come back to us anyway with ash hurleys. Sean, can you just take a slight bit off of that there, please? And we can do that with this hurley, which is great because again, that settles the player so that they're comfortable to perform. The one other major benefit of this hurley is consistency. So if you break your hurley 3 nights before an All-Ireland semi-final, I would say that's an impact on the mind.
It's a bummer.
Yeah. Even your number 2, it might be your number 2, but you don't want to break in 3 nights before the All-Ireland semi-final. You'll probably be using that instead of using your favourite one in case you might break your favourite one. So what we find very good about this is, if a player we've invested in high technology here to manufacture the product. So if a player wants the same thing, give us a few months yet now, but in a rapid turnaround time, then we can provide that, and that hurley will have the same materials and construction. So the feel and touch of that hurley will be the same as the one you've broken. And so there's lots of different benefits. Global hurling in Australia is totally different to hurling in Ireland. So hot weather, maybe ash doesn't like an awful lot of heat, so we would see players breaking a lot of ash hurleys in other continents where the heat is a massive thing. In America, the game is going global. We want to bring a product that's going to take it global and consistently help players to perform, so that we're not everybody's getting the same chance to let their skill take over. So if you want a hurley as good as potentially an elite player who's using that hurley, you can get it, and then it depends on your own skill whether you can do what they do or not.
You can take the horse to water, but you can't make it drink and all that. Yeah. I have to say, just in my own preparation of, I've been fascinated by your story the last couple of days, and just from putting the feelers out with some intercounty players that I would know, and straight away, I suppose there's a small bit of, some people are, as we know, sports people are very superstitious at the best of times. I think hurlers with their hurls are even take that on another notch or two, and particularly in some people, and straight away, I don't know, will it be the same feel as the ash? How will it react? There seems to be a bit of, I suppose, not resistance, but there's they've been grown through, particularly players that towards the end of their careers where they've been used to the same thing all their life. Is that going to be something you're going to have to adjust? I know you still have the ashes, and you're not going away from that. How are you going to manage that? I suppose that's going to be a business challenge for you guys. Do you focus on the younger generation coming through, or I know you've had people using it in the National League. That's a juggling act, is it?
Well, would you believe in my testing with intercounty players, I actually started with the most traditionalist players I felt that I had on my books first.
Fascinating.
So that one of them particular players would be John Conlon. John Conlon is loves his Ash Hurleys. He absolutely adores his Ash Hurleys. He has a shed full of Ash Hurleys that I'm sure he would not give away for anybody. And John has been also growing up knowing the character. 13 years of age, John was very, how would I say, intent in how he looked at things and just perfection, I suppose. That's that root of perfection or looking for it, and making sure everything was right. He had to be prepared. And so I went to John last November with it, and we went for a training session, and immediately I could see that he was at least willing to use it, and he was impressed with what we had come to him with. And he went away, and unfortunately now he did a bit of an injury a few months ago, so he mightn't be able to take part in the club championship coming up. But by the time the league finished, that was his second favourite hurley. He was bringing that to games, right? So if he's bringing that to games, he doesn't know what the hurley carrier is going to bring into him as soon as he breaks his Ash hurley. So that's, even for me, is a leap of faith from players, because it's only natural that many players will want to use Ash. They've been using it since they were 6 years of age. Sure. You can't expect to change everybody overnight, and I wouldn't want to change everybody overnight because I wouldn't be able to keep up with demand. But it's just to, I suppose, to ask people, look, give it a go. There is some performance benefits that we feel. And, John at some point would break his favourite hurley. So this has to come into action at some point. Then you have the likes of Angus Clark has been using this hurley all through the National League centre back for Westmeath. Since November, he's been using that hurley. Shane Amori, I gave him one in January. He was using it the following weekend as his favourite hurley against Wexford. So,
straight away, you have positive signs there.
I suppose, look, players will trust us as well. They know that. I suppose I like to think I look at performance just naturally. I don't know why I do that, but that's just what the way my makeup is. And they know that if I'm asking them to try something, that I'm not asking them just because I want to sell a product, or we're just doing this thing to make it look like a hurley, but okay, go back to what we always did. It's something that we just have put a lot of effort in. And look, we're always going to get resistance. There could be people there that we're not saying Ash is brilliant. We really want to keep the traditions of the sport, but we also think that it's no harm to look at the future. And I'll be quite honest, I'm fairly impressed with the GAA community in the last 24 hours, because I thought it would be a lot more kickback as well, from that point of view. I think the GAA supporters and the GAA in general, with the introduction of Hawkeye, with the introduction of new technologies within the sport, means that now players and people are far more accepting of looking at alternatives and evaluating them. Are they good for me or are they not? And that's simply what we're asking players to do. And if players do want a great Ash hurley, we're here to do that, and we'll do the same thing we've been doing for the last 30 odd years in that regard. But if players want something different and they feel like they're getting a little bit more out of their hurley, then that's what we've tried to do with the Torpey BAMBÚ as well.
Well, absolutely, and without you're at an advantage as well, that you're not somebody new into the sector straight away. You have the traditions of the business built up, and the name and the respect, and you've talked about so many big players being around your kitchen table before Munster finals and all of that as well. So and I can tell from even talking about you, the pride and the level of detail that you've put into this. It's obviously been a long journey, but 6 years now, is it, since you first kind of started
we would have
this?
started really looking at it late 2013 after Clare winning the All-Ireland, actually, or maybe early 2014. And it's it has been a long road. We haven't taken this step lightly, though. It's, as I say, if it's not right for playing hurling, we're not going to be selling it. You know what I mean? That is the bottom line. And we would happily keep this back from the public for another, however long. I could have gone to market and gone out to the customers with this maybe 2 to 3 years ago, but we really wanted to look at the data that the testing was giving us, get feedback from players. So I sent 12 of these hurleys out in 2018 to players at various levels in different continents, and also obviously in Ireland. And we asked them to partake in surveys once they did that. 179 games and training sessions, only one hurley had broken. So, we're very happy with that return, and, we want to make the best product in going. And look, this isn't going to probably be the end of some of the innovations that we want to do within hurling as well. We want to try and, make players can trust us to perform the fine margins a little bit more, if they can, and we want to help them to do that. If even at junior B level, and that's all very important for players now. That it's something that's built into people's culture now, that they want to do themselves justice all of the time, and happy to look at these things. You know what I mean? So I think that's a good part of it.
I think the best pun I saw, I think it was Richie McCormick from Off the Ball had it on Twitter yesterday. The grain margins, I think, was probably one of the best best puns I saw. So you've had such a long process from, and I can tell the amount of testing and the amount blood, sweat and tears and everything else in between has gone into this, and I can see your pride in it. Were you apprehensive then when the launch kind of happened, and how have things been since for you guys?
Yeah, well, look, it's been crazy the last 24 hours. Our online store is absolutely, it's about to explode, I think, at the moment. And Twitter has been nuts. And, just in general, just a call for information. And we knew that, hurling there is nothing more culturally significant, in my opinion, to Ireland than hurling. And if you're going to come out and do something, if you're going to come out and do something as different as what we've done, I don't think it's too different, but it is different. You're going to get attention, and we're happy to get that attention. And in the main, it's all been positive. And as I say, we're only here to try and showcase it. People want to buy it, great. If they want to look at it and try it out here, we have a test, or we have a trialing zone here going to be set up here, so players can come. They can trial the product before they buy it, for instance, because that is quite important for hurlers. They don't want to. They know how ash feels. We don't need to explain that. So we have that system in place here now. Obviously, it's raining yesterday and today quite a lot, so that's not quite easy to do that right now. But hopefully, there's good weather on the way in the next month or two as well. And we welcome everybody here, and we're doing everything by an appointment-based system at our factory brand store here. Just at the moment, just due to COVID-19 and minding the staff and everything. But in general, the one major, and there's so many advantages to this product. Sometimes I forget myself. But for instance, if you're buying online, there would be a level of apprehension for players about buying hurleys online. Now, we've changed that a good bit in the last few years, and we've put an awful lot of effort into ensuring our ash hurleys are very consistent going out online. I actually can think of one inter-county player who played in an All-Ireland final, and he never visited this factory or never spoke to me before he played, and he played with one of our hurleys that he would have been buying online. So that's a huge endorsement of our, I suppose our consistency. And the great thing with this BAMBÚ hurley is that we're bringing that consistency even higher. So, everybody gets the same. That's the bottom line. But you can get the weights, and balances to your taste. And that's the cool thing,
And if people are interested, like the BAMBÚ is, firstly, it's a brilliant name. I love the little bit of twang that you've put on it there as well. But people out there that are listening and watching, and they are interested, what's the best next steps for them?
So it's available on pre-order at the moment. We have quite a few orders in right now. So I would say, the earlier you get in, the more your chance you have of getting it, earlier. But it is there is a 2-week manufacturing waiting period, just to give us the time to ensure every aspect of the hurley is right, before we send it out to you. And you can get them on torpeyhurleys.com/shop. And you'll see the BAMBÚ section there. There's also quite a lot of information on Torpey BAMBÚ on our website. There's a dedicated webpage there, torpeyhurleys.com/BAMBÚ. And you'll see some videos, informative videos, and we have 1 or 2 more yet to come. We've a lot of content created to just showcase what we've been doing, and just to let people know this isn't done on a whim and a prayer, and that's the idea.
Absolutely, we'll share all the links out as well, because I know it'll have a good bit of interest when people see this. I'll let you go on there, Sean. Your phones understandably sound like they're absolutely hopping in the background there, so I better let you go before you get killed. I'll go back to the start, my tongue-in-cheek joke, where someone using a Robbie, they might use it over your head if you don't get back to work. They say the orders are coming in.
But club championship is only 2 weeks away here and there, so it is busy days irrespective of all of this. So it's great.
Lockdown,
it's great to be back at it. It's brilliant to be back hurling, to see people happy and see them, really enjoying the experience of hurling again. Brilliant. Can't get over that.
Brilliant, John. Firstly, I have to say, even you've educated me so much. It's been fascinating listening to you the last half an hour. So I've learned so much, and I repeat, I can see so much of the grow and everything else, and the pride that you have in all your products. We wish you the very best of luck. We'll share the links here as well. People get in touch. Hopefully, we're talking about it. It's going to be a strange feel having the All Ireland at the back end, but it could be even better. The winning goal might be scored by BAMBÚ. That's the commentary lines will go global all around the world.
Who knows? Look, we just see how it goes. Again, we're gonna naturally get this thing out there. If players want to use it, they want to use it. If they don't, they don't. We're just here to help. All right.
My pleasure, Sean. Thank you so much, and very best of luck.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. All right.
Thank
you.
See
you. Bye bye.